Time for What's Happening.
Rush Limbaugh is in the news. We first told you about this when he went on the air and said that the media was blowing Irma out of proportion. He downplayed the risk of the storm. He said it was a big conspiracy, that it was just the retailers wanting to sell bottled water and the media and meteorologists and public officials wanting to sell the public on the reality of climate change. He said that he wasn't a meteorologist, but rather the go-to guy in his circles for hurricane advice. It's pretty bold.
I wouldn't count him as my go-to guy. I mean, I know he's lived in Florida for a long time.
Here's where it got dangerous, because you know how popular Rush Limbaugh is and how people take his word as gospel. He said, and I'm quoting here, "Another thing I've found, folks, these storms, once they actually hit, are never as strong as they're reported." I'm wondering how many people heard that, took that as gospel, and are staying because Rush Limbaugh said it's okay to stay. Because I bet that number is pretty big.
He has changed his tune. He announced yesterday that, in fact, he will be off air today. He says, "I'm not going to get into the details because of the security nature of things, but it turns out we will not be able to do the program. We will be on the air next week, folks, from parts
because they're evacuating."
Yes. Because the police department in Palm Beach or wherever he happens to be is not going to be around to pull him out if necessary. The other big disaster that's being attended to today is this magnitude 8.1 earthquake that hit off of southern Mexico overnight. The president, Enrique Peña Nieto, said it was an 8.2. That would make it the largest earthquake in Mexico in 100 years, bigger than the one in 1985.
That one killed thousands. So with this 34 initial death toll, you know that's going to go up.
Pijijapan? I don't even know how to say that word. The epicenter itself was southwest of the town of Pijijapan. You speak Spanish.
Yeah, no, you've got it right.
At a depth of, they said, about 70 kilometers down. So it's off the coast. It's relatively deep. So it is a large-scale earthquake, but I guess it could have been worse if it was centered on land somewhere and shallow. But they're still saying that this is an absolute disaster because you've already got, I think, at least 34 people who have been killed. And we're talking about areas where they have not been able to get into to check and see how everyone's doing. There was a small tsunami. They said it was about 2.5 meters, I think, but that it wasn't causing any damage. The tsunami itself wasn't a huge problem.
Equifax in the news because you know by now the credit reporting agency says the personal information of as many as 143 million people was compromised in a data breach between May and July.
Got me.
It got you, got Amy,
got my wife,
got Blake. Now, we're talking Social Security numbers, birth dates, addresses, driver's license numbers. Somebody's already moved into Gary's house. The shady report that we learned about is that 3 senior executives for this Equifax sold a hell of a lot of shares. The chief financial officer sold shares worth almost $1 million. The president of the U.S. Information Solutions Department got rid of about $600,000 worth of shares. They did all of this before they told you all about it.
Well, the spokeswoman for the company says they had no knowledge that an intrusion had occurred at the time. If they knew about this before you did, and if they sold this stuff before you had an opportunity to get your hands on it, well, they're going to be in some trouble.
Mad Dog Mattis is in the news. Today is Mad Dog's birthday, turning 67 years old. He probably doesn't celebrate birthdays, though. He doesn't have time for that. You don't get to end people on birthdays.
I would imagine he's along the lines of the Chuck Norris meme, but in real life. I don't think he celebrates birthdays. I think birthdays celebrate him.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah! You could write that down. Somebody could make that into a meme, and then I could be a millionaire. Like an Equifax executive. Be polite.
I wonder what people do.
Be professional, but have a plan to kill everybody you meet.
Yes. That's my favorite quote. I wonder if he celebrates his birthday by just having people punch him in the face. Like he's so badass, you can't just give him a handshake.
By people punching him in the face?
You got to punch him in the face, and he's like, "Oh, that feels good. Give me another one."
Give me another. I'm 67. Hit me 67 times. There is a 13-year-old girl from England. The hashtag organ donor is trending because of Jemima Lazelle. Jemima died in 2012. She had a brain aneurysm. But because of her gift of organ donation, they said that her heart, her pancreas, her lungs, her kidneys, her small bowel, and her liver have all been donated to a record number 8 people. 5 of those recipients were children. And according to a National Health Service executive, no one has ever enabled 8 or more solid organ transplants into 8 different recipients. So she set a record in her amazing gift. So
the basement dwellers of the NFC West have such a sad future in this season, when I'm talking about the 49ers and the Rams, that there's actually going to be people protesting at the Rams game for Colin Kaepernick. Okay. This is a Najee Ali protest, though, that is said to be outside the Rams opener today or on Sunday against the Colts. And if you've been to a Najee Ali protest, which you and I have both, I'm assuming correctly, I think, it can be 7 people.
Yeah. But it will get coverage.
It'll get coverage.
John Madden is also trending. John Madden, John Madden, returning to a radio station up in the Bay Area after a 2-year absence.
If you were in the Bay Area at any point, you know that one of the weekly highlights is when John Madden goes on the air at KCBS and just breaks down that weekend's games. He
had heart surgery, which is what originally kind of kicked him off of the regular schedule. And he had some other health challenges, they say, that kept him off the air. But that is radio gold.
Yeah.
Hearing that guy talk. I mean, he's always been a great commentator, although it might be confusing to listen to some of his stuff, and people make fun of it all the time.
He's great. He makes
Brilliant
things very
mind.
Understandable, too. And I remember my mother yelling at me to shut up because John Madden was on the radio as a kid. All right, shut up. John Madden's on.
Shh. All right, we come back. We're going to talk Gas Fantasy Foreplay, the return of our football contest, and you can play along. Dun-dun, dun-dun.